Have you ever wondered why, after a spiritual awakening, your motivation seems to fade? Before your awakening, you may have been someone filled with aspirations, dreams, and plans, propelled by an inner drive that pushed you forward. But once you awaken, you suddenly find yourself facing the same life. Yet everything feels different. Not better, not worse, just emptier. The things that once inspired you no longer matter. The dreams that once brought you joy now seem like distant echoes of someone else's. The plans you made feel too small, too trivial, or even insignificant. You feel like a balloon that has lost its air. This is one of the most common, yet least discussed aspects of spiritual awakening, and it often triggers panic. Why do I feel like I no longer care? Why can't I push myself like before? Where has my passion gone? It's unsettling when the inner flame that once fueled you seems to disappear. But the truth is this: your old motivation did not vanish. It was replaced. And what you're experiencing is not a breakdown, but a realignment. Before your awakening, much of your drive came from the ego, not in judgment, but as a reflection of how we are conditioned. From a young age, we are taught that we need to be someone, to succeed, to be admired, to constantly strive for more. We are told to chase dreams, set goals, and push forward without pause. But how often were we asked this one simple question: why? The ego, shaped by fear, has countless answers: to prove your worth, to be seen, to avoid failure, to feel secure, to make others proud, to avoid shame, to be admired. The list is endless. But the core issue is that all these reasons are based on fear: the fear of not being enough, the fear of being forgotten, the fear of rejection, the fear of being unloved. What looked like ambition was often rooted in the desire to escape the fear of being without success. Awakening strips away these illusions. It shines light on the motivations that were once hidden in shadows. You begin to see that much of what you were doing wasn't driven by love, joy, or peace, but by a deep, unacknowledged yearning to fill a void that could never be filled. And when you see the truth of this, you can no longer fuel yourself on the same desires. The fuel that once drove you loses its appeal. It's as if you wake from a dream where you were running a race, only to realize that the race was never real to begin with. This is why, after awakening, you often feel like you've reached a standstill. The goals you once strived toward now seem hollow. The achievements you once craved now appear irrelevant. Even things like building a career, gaining recognition, or being productive may suddenly seem unimportant. It's not that you no longer care, rather, you can now see through it all. You realize that no amount of worldly success can provide what you truly seek: peace, love, truth, and freedom. But here lies the challenge. When people lose their old motivation, they often think something is wrong. They assume they're broken, depressed, lazy, or unfocused. But in truth, something sacred is happening. You are in a transition. You are in the space between who you were and who you are becoming. The identity that once chased external goals is dissolving, and what is replacing it is not yet ready to fully emerge. This is the sacred void. This space feels dark, quiet, and uncertain. You're no longer the person you were, yet you are not yet the person you are becoming. It's uncomfortable, unfamiliar, and our minds are not at ease with the unknown. So we panic. We try to return to what we know. We search for hacks, routines, to-do lists, self-help books. We attempt to restart the engine, but the engine is gone. No amount of pushing will bring it back. Trying to motivate yourself in the old way is like attempting to plug a new system into an outdated power source. It simply won't work. And here's why: your old motivation came from a sense of separation, thinking you were incomplete, believing you had to become more. But awakening reveals the truth. You are already whole, already enough, already divine. When you truly realize this, the need to chase anything dissipates. So where does that leave you? If you're not chasing, does that mean you're stuck? Is life just empty? The emptiness you're feeling isn't the absence of life. It's the absence of illusion. And when you stop clinging to illusions, You make space for something real to emerge. But here's what most people overlook. The new motivation after awakening doesn't resemble the old one. It's quieter, gentler. It doesn't roar like ambition. It whispers like intuition. It's not driven by pressure. It flows from peace. It doesn't come from force. It arises from presence. This new motivation comes from alignment. You don't act because you should, or because you have to, or because you're afraid not to. You act because something inside you moves you. A gentle pull, like the tide moving the waves. You feel called, not pushed. You feel invited, not commanded. You begin to act not to get somewhere, but because it feels true in the moment. You create not to impress, but because your soul desires to express. You hope not for praise, but because love flows through you. You speak not to convince, but because truth seeks a voice. But this kind of motivation takes time to notice. You have to quiet your mind. You have to slow down. And in a world that glorifies speed and productivity, that can feel wrong. But it's not wrong. It's real. You're not being lazy, you're being rewired. And that rewiring requires stillness. It requires surrender. So, how do you reconnect with purpose in this new way? First, stop looking out there. Your purpose is not something you find in the world. It's something that reveals itself when you stop trying to be someone. Let yourself be empty for a while. Let yourself not know. That's where true clarity begins. Next, pay attention to what brings peace. Not excitement, not adrenaline. Peace. What calms your nervous system? What helps you breathe deeper? That's where your soul speaks. Follow that feeling. That's your compass. Then get curious, not in a pressured way, just gently. What feels interesting? What feels good? If you weren't trying to be anyone, what would you do today? You might be surprised by how simple the answer is. Maybe you take a walk, call a friend, write something, sing, create, cook. It doesn't have to be important. It just has to be real and of service. Again, not in a performative way, not to appear as a good person, but because giving connects you to life. Helping others without expecting anything in return reminds you of your inherent wholeness. It shifts your energy from lack to love. And in that love, purpose awakens. Also, remain patient. Awakening is not a straight line. There will be days when you feel deeply connected and days when you feel totally lost. That's okay. It's not about maintaining a high vibration all the time. It's about being honest with where you are and letting that be enough. Even the lost days are sacred. Eventually, something beautiful happens. You stop searching for purpose and realize you are the purpose. Your presence, your awareness, your being, the peace you carry, the love you radiate. This is it. This is the point. And from that state, action naturally flows. You don't force it. You don't plan it. You simply follow it. One day, you'll wake up and realize you're doing things again, but not from pressure, from peace. You're creating again, but not for validation, for joy. You're moving again, but not to escape, to express. You're no longer chasing meaning. You're living it. This new way of being won't make sense to the old mind. The ego will ask, but what about goals? What about money? What about productivity? And those things might still matter, but in a different way. You're no longer enslaved by them. You're no longer seeking identity through them. You might still build a business, start a project, or pursue a dream. But now it's not about becoming someone. It's about letting life move through you. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to achieve your way to worthiness. You are worthy now as you are, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. So if you've lost motivation after awakening, don't panic. Don't try to fix yourself. You're not broken. You're transforming. You're being guided out of illusion and into truth. And truth doesn't scream. It whispers. It nudges. It waits. Let it find you. There will come a day when your energy returns, not the old kind, but a new kind. It's steadier, truer, kinder. And it doesn't come from fear. It comes from love. And when it does, you'll look back and realize the emptiness you feared was actually grace. It was the sacred space where your real self could finally speak. And now, with nothing left to chase, you can finally live fully, freely as you. Because you are the purpose. And the world needs you, not the version of you that was trying so hard to be something, but the version of you that remembers they already are everything they were searching